What's going on, everybody? What's up, everybody? How you doing? Good evening. Had a little bit of behind the scenes stuff that I needed to get taken care of, and I just realized that you guys can only see that part of my face, and you got that harsh light right here, right here. So give me a second. Let me work on the lighting real quick. So that's a little bit better. That is better. Hello. So, good evening. It is currently 7:07 here in the beautiful Ocoee, Florida. I'm starting to see a few people come in. Hello, Susan. How are you? Good evening. Susan is actually a good friend. She's a part of the Crafty Notary and also the Florida uh, Notary Network. I am so sorry. Notary Network. Advice to everybody: don't take a nap before you got to be on, because you'll be in the situation that I'm in right now where I didn't want to get up and go to sleep. Um, yeah, let's take a look. So, um, you know, I decided to do this video for the purpose of just kind of using this as a darn it, as a barometer for where I was and where I am now. As you guys all may know, I started the notary business about 6 months ago. It was beginning of January. Oh, no, about 5 months ago, the beginning of January. And my introduction to the business was quite easy, but it went with a lot of growing pains for me, because I just had an expectation of how things were going to work, right into me getting involved and just things that I learned over time. I had a very small expectation, small, rather large expectation of what I thought business was going to be when I first started. And, you hear a lot of friends and family members who say that they're going to start a business. Or, how you doing, Sashi? How are you? Hey. Sashi is also a friend from the Crafty Notary. Shout out to the Crafty Notary for her presentation that she had yesterday about e-notary on call. I think what she said was helpful. It was really, really helpful. And it actually made me decide to give the platform a second chance with going back on there and trying to see if I can get a good notary bit there. I'm doing okay. I just woke up literally like 5 minutes ago, and to be honest, probably wasn't the best idea for me to take a nap prior to, but I just had to go to sleep. What's up, Black Curry? Black Curry is a friend to the pod. How are you? He is on one of the very first episodes of this season. We had a follow-up episode with him. He did an episode 2 years ago, and he came back today, or not today, but recently, to do a second interview. So I know you're going to be there for the season finale. So I'm gonna have to give you all the information. But what I envision is a big group of all of us who've been on the show. Just stop me and say some nice words, and talk about where they've been, and how they're doing. I was looking for my phone, but the good thing is I can actually see the comments here, so I don't have to necessarily go and search for it. It's probably on the charger somewhere. But I know a lot of you guys have heard and seen, friends and family members that have, told you need to go own your business because you complain about corporate America, or, especially if you're in sales, they talk about how slow it is, and, the ebbs and flows, and, this wouldn't happen if you own your own business. Well, for me, that wasn't something that I really desired to do at all, to be honest. And I guess it was a couple things, but one of the things that really stuck out was like, what would I do for my business? You know what I'm saying? I just thought about like all the work that it would take for me to put it together, the overhead cost behind it, and just a whole bunch of like stuff that I didn't want to be a part of. I figured, corporate America would always have my back, and that I'm never going to leave corporate America. And, I would much rather, things happen and it be on their dime than it's my own money. And where am I going to get the money to be able to do it? And just all these things that were really just negativity, just keeping me from doing it. I would say last year, after my mom passed and then Carlos's father passed, it put me in a different position. Like I was thinking slightly different. I started to think about my legacy. I started to think about, if I left this world today, what would I be leaving behind? And it was really just, a bit of debt and, just, a few trips that I had went on. So as I started to think about my legacy and what will be left on this earth after I were to untimely pass, if it were to happen, sooner rather than later, I just kind of thought about, the imprint that I would leave. I did have the podcast, and I've been podcasting for about 2 years now, but I wanted something a little bit more tangible. So, I would say the latter part of the year, I had a really good friend of mine who decided to get his notary, Now, I've used a notary in the past, but I never really knew the ins and outs of how to become one. I was really just kind of questioning, like, okay, notary. All right, well, whatever. Maybe I will look into that. And he kind of explained to me a little bit about what his intentions were. Same thoughts you were. So you get it. You completely understand. Death is one of those situations that will get you, it's one of those events that will have you thinking of your own mortality. And it would also get you to thinking about what you've done and what you've accomplished. If you were to leave now, like, how is that going to impact, others? And what is that going to be, years to come? So, he said that he was getting he got his notary, and his intention was to become a loan signing agent. And, that was going to be, his side hustle. So I was like, I went and I looked it up, and the first thing I thought, like, God, that's expensive. That's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I spend all that money for something that I don't even know what notaries do, right? So I talked myself out of it. And then during the Thanksgiving holiday, I had a little bit of disposable income, and I decided to go back on the NNA website. That's where I got my accreditation stuff from. Went back on the NNA website, looked at it. I was like, you know what? You ain't got to work tomorrow. And tomorrow was Black Friday. Why don't you just go ahead and do it? So I did. Passed the test, everything on the first try. I mean, it's pretty easy to pass. It's really not that difficult. But I passed, and I got really excited. I was like, oh yeah, this is something I can have to my name. I really got into it. I started reading some of the things you can do and just learning just from the course and stuff like that. And I was going on YouTube at the time, just listening to people, talk about how successful they were with, being a notary. So I was excited, needless to say. So I decided to go an extra step further and decided that I wanted to get my LLC. Didn't really know much about an LLC. I just know what the letters mean, limited liability company. And I created that because I wanted to protect my intellectual property when it came to podcasting. You guys, as I said earlier, know that I'm a podcaster. And at the time, I had a teammate that I was working with that I was kind of concerned wasn't in it for me specifically. And I just felt like I needed to create this business to create, to protect my intellectual property, my name, and what I've created in the digital space with my podcasting. So that was the real reason for creating that. I did that. I got some advice of a coworker that I worked with, a manager at the time. He referred me to who he got his LLC done through. Which, to be honest, you could have done it yourself, but I'm kind of one of those people, like, too much. Like, it seemed like a lot of work, so I had the disposable income to do it, but now looking back at it, I probably should have just paid it and done it myself. But it was done. And I went through that whole process. And as I was going through it, I started to realize how more excited I was getting into, having something to my name rather than just, money that I was leaving or a paycheck or whatever the case may be. I had something tangible that I, would be able to hold on to and essentially show my contribution to the world other than just, my life, existing. So throughout the month of December, waiting on my notary, took a while for that to come. I had to send the documents again. You'd have to watch season one, episode one this season, to find out that whole fiasco. But I did that, and my LLC was formed, and I decided that I was going to launch my website as well as my business on January 3rd of 2022. So I did kind of a launch, a soft launch, because, I didn't have a physical location. And went through that whole process. It was really fun, but I really didn't do a whole lot. All I did was just wait until the 3rd, and I released a statement on Facebook, talking about my business. And I don't even know if I had a logo at the time. But my business name was Soko Gone Productions, and Soko Gone Productions was grown out of the aspect of, the production company that I was going to do my podcast under. So, but under that umbrella, I was going to be doing the mobile notary and also a wedding officiant, because here in the state of Florida, you can be an officiant. And, that's great. That's another sense of income. But I just thought on the 3rd, when my launch date was, that I was just going to be having all this business lined up, and that people was going to be calling me, and I was going to be exclusive and yada, yada, yada. But, the coming weeks after the 4th of January, I realized that I needed to reevaluate my situation and figure out how I'm going to be successful if I want to call myself a business owner, which is a long and short way of saying what I've learned as a business owner. That's what this episode is about. I've had a lot of ups and downs, growing pains, and things that I've just kind of, met with, and I want to share that with you. So if you guys are interested in becoming business owners, or, just want more information, and you think that my experience will be helpful to you, I hope this video, can be considered resource material for you to start your own business. I will right off the bat say I recommend everybody have their own business. The hard part is not deciding to go into business. The hard part is figuring out what it is you would want to do at any given time, when you become a business owner. A lot of us will allow it to be, ambiguous and fit, we'll be a jack of all trades. But when you go to presenting yourself to others and people ask you what you do, you want to be able to have a clear and discerning answer to be able to explain to them. Otherwise, you're just going to look like another person that is a part of this whole group of folks who, jump into owning their business and doing whatever it is they do, right? So yeah, it was very easy for me to get the LLC and all that. I mean, because I didn't do the work, and to get the idea of making the mobile notary business. But I didn't really think it through of how I was going to gain business. I just kind of assumed that notaries are we are a public office, so you can search for us. There's a database and all. But my thought process is that I was going to just become a notary, and people were going to know that I was a notary, and they'll want to seek me out, right? And that was coming from an experience that I had a couple years ago where I had to get my VIN number updated, and I had to schedule a notary, and the way I found her was Google. I just thought that it was as organic as it was for me. No, and we're going to get into that. So very early on, within my process of launching my notary business, I realized that it was very important for me to have realistic expectations about my business, and that I needed to think about the value that Reggie adds to it. So that was my first lesson. My expectation, as I said, I just thought that people were going to just find out and know, and I would be busy. I didn't consider the idea of advertising and putting myself out there in a way to where people can find me. Listening to myself say that now, it almost sounds like, come on, Reggie, you didn't know that. But no, I had never, considered the idea. All I know is when I went on YouTube, I just heard people saying that they were making $2,000 and $3,000 as a notary a day, or whatever the case may be. And I figured it would be the same for me. A lot of those videos, that you catch aren't, in chronological order. So you meet them in the middle of their journey where they're talking about the highs and how things are great and how things were easy. They rarely, you rarely go in and search, where you have the information behind, like, okay, this is what it's going to take and this is what you need to do. So there was a little bit of naivety on my part, when it came to launching that, because it clearly did not start that way. So that brings me to my next point. Growth and exposure is not organic. It's just not going to be this, organic process where you create a business. You know how they used to say with the commercial, if you build it, they will come, which makes it sound like all you got to do is just build it, and then everything else is just done by the universe. No. That is where the advertising comes from. That is where you start to, create a Yelp page. That's where you start to find, notary groups on Facebook, which I'm a part of 3. I'm a part of the Florida Notary Network, Networking Notary. I'm part of the Black Notary Network, and I'm also a part of the Crafty Notary, which I have a very special story about her later on. So you guys hold on to that, because I'm gonna talk about our interaction in the video later on here. So it was really about aligning myself with people who were doing the exact same thing that I did or was doing. At the time, I hadn't decided on if I was going to get my loan signing agent badge or whatever, simply because that would have been an additional $200 and X amount of dollars more. And I just didn't see the value into purchasing that yet. simply because I felt like, well, I ain't got no business, ain't no need of me spending that money. So um, I got involved with the, those notary groups. And over the Thanksgiving holiday, I had conversed. We had a dinner here. We had our next door neighbor who was there, and we talked about some of the things that we plan on doing in 2022. And one of my things was being a notary. Well, she remembered that. And I told her that I had taken my notary class, and she gave me a number of a young lady who was already doing it. She had done some notary stuff, recently, and they got to talking. And she was like, yeah, well, here's my number. If you're ever interested, just give me a call. Um, and after I shared this information with my next door neighbor, she was like, hey, the girl that worked with me when I did the stuff that I did, she does notary. So maybe you should reach out to her. So I was like, all right, cool. So I did reach out to her. Now, this young lady was a breath of fresh air. She was super sweet. She was very excited at the fact that I had gotten, and I didn't even know her. And I was just like, yeah. But she goes, let me know when you get your loan signing stuff, and then we can talk. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know. I ain't got the money to do it. I don't really want to go through all that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'll let you know. So, that was a relationship that I knew that I would be able to, forge and continue had I done the loan signing stuff. But I've reached out to her, periodically through my journey as being a general notary. And she just kept saying, come back to me when you get it. All right, so that was January. I was riding that general notary thing pretty hard. February come around, it's like, man, dang. That ain't working, So I started to research more about loan signing services, start, going into more information about loan signing in general and what they do. And one of the things that appealed to me about it was the attention to detail, the documents in which you're presenting to the customer and just how, utterly trained you have to be able to become a loan signing agent. Not that you have to deep dive into like all the documents and stuff. It's just that you need to know those documents hand and foot prior to being with those customers. And that was a part of my personality that thrives on that because I'm a very observant person. So I kind of was bouncing around back and forth. And at this point, I had not done any business at all as anything. Had a website that looked beautiful. I had a stamp that I had never used. And I was just ready. I was ready to go, y'all. Ready to go. But I didn't, there was nothing I could do because it wasn't coming. And I didn't know yet, that it wasn't organic. I didn't know yet I needed to, go out and do the work in terms of advertising and putting myself in spaces, So I didn't do anything. So then I got the idea of getting my remote online notary. I decided to do that. And this was the first time that I had come across the video of the Crafty Notary, Ayana. And Ayana speckled through that, Ron course, the idea of becoming a loan signing agent and how that was something that she had done herself and that she found, she was fulfilled from. So I immediately subscribed because I loved her personality. I thought she was a very cool person. And I was just like, you know what? And she was local too. So that just, added an element of like, I guess camaraderie, if you will, to the fact that she was so close and, she's also in Florida. So she understands the demographics and stuff like that. And she looked like me, you know what I'm saying? So, I decided to do the Ron thing, and I actually mentioned to her on her Facebook, on her YouTube page, The Crafty Notary, by the way. I'm out of town. Your internet is choppy. I got you. Well, you can come and go as you can. I appreciate you, man. You always hold it down as a supporter. So I appreciate you 110%, Black Curry. So thank you. So I reached out to her, or not reached out to her. I said on her page, I'm going to go ahead and get my Ron and blah, blah, blah. And I was saying, it's going to be a little expensive. to get my what was it? My loan signing agent. We call it LSA, affectionately called LSA, loan signing services or loan signing agent. So, she's like, well, it's definitely worth it. I think you should do it. And if you do, let me know if you do. So, not only when you become a loan signing agent, you have some additional things. You have to take the course, you have to do the training, and then take the course. And then you also have to do your background stuff. You probably want to increase your E&O, which is errors and emissions insurance, and make sure that you have a decent amount. You start off with 25,000, and I decided to increase it to 50,000. That just gives you more insurance in the event that something happens. And E&O insurance, is not as costly as one may think, but it all depends on what works best for you. So I held off a little bit longer, and I would say the week of Valentine's Day, I decided, let me go ahead and just do it. I used my credit card because, to be honest, I just transitioned to this new position. I was only doing hourly, and me and my husband would struggle bus financially. So that was also part of the reason why I didn't want to spend the money to do it either. So I decided to pull out the credit card and decided that I was going to become a loan signing agent. And we all know who happened to have done this process know that it ain't cheap for you to become a loan signing agent. I already had a simple printer. I knew that I would need to upgrade. I also knew that I would need to spend the money in terms of getting other supplies like another printer, shredder, which I ended up buying later on, paper, Lego paper, printer cartridges, printer, accessories, all these things that you need as an initial startup. On top of the $259, because I wanted to get the entire course, which included the $259 also included like a basic NNA membership or access to the NNA hotline. So that was the one that I think that I went with, and it was one of the highest packages because I wanted to make sure that everything was set on that process. So I don't even remember specifically how I was able to do it all, but I did. I purchased all these things. So that takes us until about March. This is where it was the hard and discouraging part. Español, por favor. Lo siento, no hablo español. Bueno, yo hablo español poquito. Well enough for me to be able to get in trouble. So sorry. You're going to have to Google Translate it if you can. This is where it became very hard and discouraging. I know that's a very generic thing, but it was like, man, I'm spending all this money and I don't even know how well I'm going to do. And I wish I knew if spending this money was actually going to make a difference. That was what I was concerned about. At this point, if you add up all the notary stuff that I had purchased, the course for being a notary, the EO insurance, the course to become a loan signing agent, a RON, printers, printer paper, printer cartridges, and all that fun stuff, I was probably out, I would say $1,500 at this point. Saludos desde Venezuela. Soy amigo de tu hijo. Ah, he's a friend of my son Juan. How sweet. See, I told you. This is as far as you're gonna get out of me right now. I can definitely understand basic Spanish, but not well enough to speak business. But it was discouraging because I just didn't have any way of measuring whether I was doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, especially when you own your own business, you do have to step out on faith. There's nobody that's going to be able to tell you what works for your business and what doesn't. You have to be the judge. And that's a very scary thing because you're so, no entiendo. That's a very scary thing because you're so used to, being in corporate America. If you've been in corporate America for a number of years, having to do the things that they tell you and do the, doing it with the protection of the company, it could be, very like carefree in that way. But you being a business is like, if I don't produce money, then I'm not going to be successful. If you don't produce money, you're not going to be successful. If you don't produce, and that kept going on over and over in my head. Sashi said, I can relate. I have to remind myself that I just started and my journey is different from others. Exactly. Not everybody's journey is the same. Not everybody's journey is the same. Some people get in, with low cost because they've, gotten things over time. And some people get in and they struggle bust like I do. And I did. So, I don't even think that if I had the validation that I was on the right path, that I still wouldn't have had the anxiety that I had. I think I still would have had it regardless. I would have talked myself out of it because that's what your mind does. Your mind does whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable. And, it wants you to stay in that little box that we know is going to work, which means I would just get up and go and do my 10 to 7 every day and not worry about anything else. And, just go from there. But, you have to be able to get yourself out of that mindset because that's going to stop you from doing the things that you ultimately want to do. I didn't mention this before, but when you do decide to go into business, you have to find out your why. Okay. You need to have a why to be able to focus on that when things do get hard, like, spending all this money and you ain't got no, return on your investment. And my reason for for wanting to become a business owner is to, have something tangible, that I can leave to my son, and secondly, something else to my name. And I wanted it to be something that was going to essentially become income for my podcasting. Things like this mic right here, this expensive. This iPad I got, they're real expensive. Okay, the styrofoams that you guys see there, you can't see it, but they're real expensive, right? And my normal job wasn't going to be able to pay for all of that, and I needed to make sure that I needed to make sure that I was going to. I needed to make sure that I had some income to be able to purchase the things that I need as a podcaster, because that was really what my main focus was going to be. I was going to do the loan signing thing on the side and then be the, this podcaster, which I still am, but I was going to focus more on that. And this will just be like a side hustle thing. But we're 6 months in, and I will tell you guys, the experience that I've gotten is completely unexpected. I still produce the shows and do all the things that I need to do, but I got a lot of experience very, very fast in loan signing. That brings me to my next lesson. You got to be flexible. You have to be flexible with the way business may take you, because my expectation was that it was going to be this fast start and things all just happen. And to think about it, I probably wouldn't even been ready, and I probably would have crashed and burned had I done that. But it was more of a slow burn because I didn't get my first client, even free client, as a general notary work until March. At this point, I had gotten did my commission, started it in January, but I didn't get my first customer until uh, March. And it was actually a next door neighbor who was like, I had gotten business cards very early on. And, you know, that was when I had like podcasting. It was this rainbow cards. I don't have them up here that I had. And when I go back and I look at it, just so atrocious. I don't even know why I did that, but I did. But she was like, oh, yeah, you remember when you gave out the cards? I need this thing notarized. I went, now, you know, I notarized it for, I didn't charge her because my agreement was that I wasn't going to charge the customer because I wanted to, get the experience. But she just happened to be someone that was right down the street from me, you know, and I was very excited about it. I was very happy. And I just went in and y'all should have seen me. Y'all would have thought that I was conducting like damn, oil prices the way I had it because I was excited. I was just like, mm-hmm. And what is okay? Let's do your oath, and you know. But she was very sweet, and I ended up having to run back next door and stamp something else, so that was kind of cool. But I remember having a conversation with Carlos and being like, I don't know if I made the right choice. I'm really thinking that maybe I shouldn't have done this because ain't nobody coming. And Carlos said, and he'll tell you now, which he's in the room right now because he had a long day. But he was like, it's gonna happen, love. Don't worry about it. It's gonna happen. And that was really just his faith in me and him knowing, how I am as a person. That he believed in me, and I was just that wasn't something that I had for myself in the very beginning. And I was very hard on myself. I was very, very. It was being very difficult, or not difficult. I was just being really hard on myself because I just had this idea of what I thought it was going to be, and it didn't work out that way. So you have to be able to weather the storm because it isn't for the faint of hearts. Depending on what you decide to do, even if there is a market for what you're doing and people need it, it's not going to be something that's going to jump off right away. And you have to learn to, get off of that ledge of negativity when you're on that train as a business owner, because it's easy. It's easy to get there because you don't have someone that's pushing you in that way. All it is you and maybe a couple other family members who know about what you do. And, businesses they aren't started by the people who know us. They're, started by, word of mouth of folks who have interacted with us, by, for example, me giving my business cards out one day, but yeah, so I did that. So yeah, the crafty notary, Ayana, was, I remember after I decided to go get my loan signing agent certification, I reached back out to her and I told her that thanks to you, thank you, that I said, thanks to you, I decided that I'd become a loan signing. She was like, oh, great, awesome, that's good to go. So after, she gave me that vote of confidence, and she doesn't sound like that really. So that wasn't I'm going to try to, Ayana is cool as shit. I love Ayana. She is amazing, an amazing person. Sashi and Susan, they know how amazing she is and how she really put forth an effort to really just teach us what she knows, But so that was my interaction with her. But do you guys remember the young lady that I was telling you about? When she told me to keep in touch with her and let her know when I got my loan signing agent certification? She turned out to be my mentor, Lucretia. Lucretia is super sweet. I swear, the first time that I met her, because it's really kind of despised in our business a lot of times. Oh, yes, Susan knows. She drops so much knowledge, absolutely. A lot of these places, especially if you're going into it for the first time, you're going into like some of these places, these online forums and stuff like that. People can be very intimidating sometimes. And, it's two things. Number one, they don't want to share their information to you because they're afraid that you'll outdo them. Or secondly, they forget, how hard and how difficult it was for them. And then lastly, you just have people who think that they know it all, right? And it's very intimidating going into these forums and having these questions and things. and you want to mentor, you want to reach out to people, to help you learn. And the only way that you're going to become a real good loan signing agent is if you really get an opportunity to work with some people. And a lot of folks in our industry, they can be very rigid. The first thing that they talk about is low fees. Second thing they talk about is low fees. And then the third thing that they talk about is low fees and why people are taking low fees. And that's annoying. So I reached out to Lucretia. I told her I got. She was like, "What you doing Saturday?" I was like, nothing. She was like, "You coming with me?" And I was like, "All right." And I did. And I was just so, she made me feel extremely comfortable with her for the first time. We went in, she did her business, and she was like, yeah, this is my witness. This is your witness, blah, blah, blah. We may need one, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to show him some things, da, 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 da. Very matter-of-factly, I was nervous as shit. Very matter-of-factly. And she just, empowered me. She was just like, all right, look through these papers. And, I looked through them, and she was like, make sure there's no errors. So I go through it. I was like, yeah, we good. She went back, she checked, and there was an error. And I went on about 5 signings with her. And sometimes I still open the idea of like going, just going as, from time to time with her, because I think it's very helpful sometimes, to just be able to see outside of what you do and your expertise to shadow with somebody else. So I tagged along to one assignment. We met in Claremont. And this customer actually got a little testy in a particular situation that wasn't even her fault. See, you get what I'm saying, Sashi? Because these old heads, they don't be want to give up their trade secrets because they scared. They scared. They think you're gonna take their secrets, but there's money out here for everybody, right? So, long story short. I did a couple signings with her, and Lucretia she became more than a mentor. She became a really good friend of mine, someone that I looked to for advice. She was like a big sister that I had, that I never had. You know what I'm saying? Because not only was she giving me experience advice, she was also giving me life advice. She's just super sweet, and I tell you, Lucretia know how to get down, y'all. She's cool as shit. So we definitely, we bonded really fast, and she just gave me the ins and outs, and this is what you need to look over. The very first signing that I had, she and I were on the phone when it was coming to the documents, and she went through line by line. And that's rare, y'all. That doesn't happen too often. So my recommendation, my next lesson would be to ensure that you get a mentor, someone who's willing to teach you all that they know with no questions asked. There's no attachment. There's no, hey, man, I'll do this if you do this. It's just a matter of, hey, I learned a lot, and I want to give you the same. And, like I said, our friendship was able to cross over that simply because of, just her willingness to show me love in the very beginning. And she was all about trying to help me. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a thing. It wasn't a situation where she was just like, I ain't gonna train you too much because you might not. And y'all can tell that hit me to my heart because I've had people say that before, in other instances, of the business. Not this particular business, but, other businesses that I've been involved in. As my, illustrious 20-year customer service and sales experience, I've had people who've been that way, and that's never fun. So, she was a homie, and me and Grace still talk to this day. So I was actually on the phone with her a couple days ago, or yesterday actually. I meant to call her back, but I completely forgot. And she set the tone for me to be able to do the same thing for a young lady named Crystal, who was introduced to me by a coworker of mine who just came across one of the videos that I was doing talking about my startup cost as being a business owner, And, me and Crystal, we clicked. And I told her the reason why I was doing it is because Creature did it for me. And the only thing that I would want you to do is to do the same for somebody else. when it comes up and you're able to do the same. We haven't closed our, we went on 2 signings that day that she went with me, and she was amazing. She was awesome. She needed to be a witness from one of the witnesses that I had. Yeah, it was cool, you know. So be aware of your upfront costs. They will be expensive. So depending on what your business is, there's going to be overhead at all times. And you just have to make sure that you set your prices accordingly to ensure that you get that money back, or do your best to try to get it back. Because sometimes there's just things that are just unrecoupable, and it just is what it is. Like customer experience, that's something that is unrecoupable. For example, you mess up on a notary, you have to be open-minded about going back out there. You know what I'm saying? Whether you do it with loan signing companies or direct, and the first thing that may happen is you get very like, oh, me? Because that's how I was. Me? Error? Fuck, come on. Kind of find out, yep, there was an error. You did it wrong, and you have to do that walk of shame. Just be open-minded and understand that that's just the way it's going to be. That's what it is. We are all human. You're going to have errors, and that's just the way it's going to be. Other things that I've learned as well. But anyway, let me tie that up. So Carisha became my mentor. Later on, I got an opportunity to interview Ayana, and that's how our friendship / relationship started. And she's actually going to be doing my notary meetup on Saturday, as well as Lucretia. Lucretia's doing my notary meetup, and another young lady named Dana who does the direct side of things, and she's going to be presenting too. So I'm very excited about that. We still got to go get those groceries. Don't hold me to it. I hope you guys like it. So that was that. That was, that situation. And then I would say by April, things started to kind of start chugging along. First week of April, I did like 4 signings. Second week of April, I did like 4 signings at the end of March. April, I had 8 signings, and then I had 6 in 1 week, and then I had 12, and blah, 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 blah. By the end of that month of April, I had 25 signings. In a span of 4 weeks, I had 25 signings. Amazing. Never done it before, March 13th. And April 25th, I had 25 signings on the books. Let me tell you what I did. I signed up with Express Notary and all the places that you needed to sign up with to get your notary. And a lot of companies make it super easy, but what they don't tell you is, hey, you need to have experience, and they have you put in the amount of experience you have. And, I was told to lie, which, to be honest, there's no way for them to validate your commission, but I didn't do that. So you get discouraged about that too, because it's like, well, all I want is experience, and you guys keep telling me I need to get more signings, but yet you won't give me any. That's the proverbial circle that they put you in when you first start as a loan signing agent. And it's frustrating because it's like, I ain't just start life. I've been on this earth for 1 year. I mean, I know how to do a little song, and this ain't really all that hard. Kind of, not really, but kind of. And they don't give you the opportunity that you deserve because of their fear because essentially they're taking a risk on you too. And I get it. I completely understand companies, because I'm talking to the companies right now. I understand what you mean, but I'm just saying, like, how am I going to get experience if you ain't going to give me none? So I did Express Notary, and if you tell this story to them, or you try to do the same thing, I'm going to tell you, you lied, because I didn't do it. But no, I signed up with them, and I remember it had gotten to like 30 bids that I had done at one point. I'm like, why I ain't getting one? Why I ain't getting one bid? So the way Express Notary works is they have an assignment, you go in, you bid for it, and then they have the option to, when you're new, they have the option to accept your bid or decline it or give it to someone else. So anyway, I at this point I had gotten hip to the game that you might need to have a outside contact to be able to get through that circle. And I reached out to their IT person because I was really dumbfounded. I'm like, how? I don't understand. On some of these I bid, yes, I didn't adjust the price. How am I not getting it? So I ended up calling their IT person. Their IT person, said that they would check in and make sure that my profile was fine. They checked it. They said it was fine, and I got something back from one of the directors from Express Notary, and she was like, "Well, we expect you to have three. I think you needed to have three accepted and three accepted assignments before you get the accept button because Express Notary also has an accept button. So for the senior people who has a lot more signings on their belt, especially with their platform, that you have to have three before you get the accept button. So you don't have to go through that whole rigmarole of bidding and then getting denied. I use that same spin that I just told you. I was like, hey, I've been in sales for over X amount of years, 20 years. I've done this over 20 years. I have an extensive, military career and all these other things. So although I understand that you're wanting to protect your company, at the same time too, like you got to give me an opportunity. Like you can't just keep using that as an excuse. And besides, your website don't say that. So what are we talking about? So anyway, I ain't do all that. I was, y'all know how I be adding a little extra sauce on them. But she understood and she was like, all right, cool. You know what? I'm going to give you this opportunity. The next three, you can't bid. But you just let me know. Here's my number, and I'll make sure you get it. I said, all right, that's all I can ask for, an opportunity. So I bid on it, got the first one, did it, came back. I think the first one was a HELOC. Never done a HELOC before at this point. I'm scared. Looked online, on the YouTube. You can find anything on YouTube. Yeah, man, they be out here. They be out here holding against us like that. Black girl, right? It's annoying. No. But yeah, they gatekeep like a mug. So we go out, I do it, and I must have done a good job because I didn't hear anything. That wasn't my first one. My first one was the one in the Berry. In the Berry, I had to go back. And I ended up catching my own mistake. Actually, Creisha caught my mistake, and she was like, you need to go back out there because we were on the phone together. The HELOC was the second one, which is a home equity line of credit, HELOC. And then I had a couple refinances, and I didn't bid like she told me to, which was to the chagrin of my mentor. She was happy that I kind of countered the whole you need experience kind of thing. But she was like, you should never take this for this. And that's another thing that I want you new notaries to learn if you ever, or anybody out there, you have to figure out what is right for your business. Do not listen to the masses that tell you that you are going to take a loss if you take this specific thing. Now, this is not my, this was handed to me from Crafty Notary. And I forget what she called it. But there are times where companies will take a loss to gain customers. And sometimes in your business, if you want to stay afloat, $50 versus no dollars, $50 gonna always be more than no dollars. I'm not saying that you need to go and for in the notary world, go out and say, I'm gonna go 2 hours and get a $50 assignment. No. But if it's in your zip code, rather than trying to get 65 because that's what you normally do, take that 50. Because that 50 gonna get you to the next 100 or whatever other place you need to get. Okay. So you just have to learn. You just gotta learn. You just have to learn what works best for you. And don't look for anybody else to tell you what it is. Only you can be the one to hold it down and explain that. You, nobody else. Okay? So you ain't got to answer to nobody if you decide you want to take a $50 loan modification. Okay? And that's, it is what it is. You take that $50 and you be happy with it. So, and you'll get a lot of that, especially when you have people who are in the business and they do what you do and they understand and they know, but they forget that 10 years ago they were in the same boat. Sashi agrees with me. 10 years ago, they were in the same boat. They were up here scraping for scraps to get that $50 because they was looking for that experience. And now they're in a position to say they have it and they want to look down upon you because you took it. How that work? It don't. So, yeah, you have to figure that out and what works best for your business. You really do. And I think that's really what set me apart. You know what I'm saying? I know how to do a loan mod like with my eyes closed. You know what I'm saying? They go for 55, 60. Sometimes they'll give me that rate that I'm looking for because trust me, your boy don't just take what they give you. I'd be like, okay, $50, 65. Sometimes they'll be like, all right, cool. We're going to give it to you. You know what, Reggie? You win one today. But sometimes it's like, we're going to give it to somebody else. Just because you bid against it doesn't mean they're going to always accept your bid. So $50, no dollars. $50, no dollars. I'll take the 50. That's just my philosophy. What else? So we're 6 months in now, and there's been a lot of growth. I can actually remember the specific time it started to make a turn for me. I think it was like the beginning of March where I felt like I had value involved in this. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you know what you doing, Reggie, is good, and that's what you need to sell on. So the month of April, I think I don't know if I got as many. Actually, I did. I did get some off, direct work, that came directly from loan signing companies, which was amazing. I had a few people that actually, my dog, I had a few people that reached out to me because at this time I had pulled up a Yelp, and that came from Lucretia. Okay. Have a good rest of your day, Susan. Thank you for staying. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Okay. Bye. So, and then all of a sudden it just hit. Like when I got my Yelp page, it started to hit, and I started to get a lot more work. And I think that also supplemented some of my income because I didn't do as many signings in May as I did in April. And what I learned with general notary work is you really do have to set yourself apart because there are a lot of people who do what you do. They can go to UPS, they can go to the bank and pay for it and do all these other things to get it done. But banks don't work. They have a certain amount of time, and certain times they won't notarize certain things. So what I did with my Yelp is I made it a 24-hour thing to where people can reach out to me. There have been times where I have gotten bids, for people, for pricings at like 2:00 in the morning. Now, they're not asking me to come and notarize at their house at 2:00 in the morning, but what it does is because it shows that I'm open, it's like, okay, it means it leads them to understand that I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure they get taken care of, and by the time I get on the phone with them, I can negotiate a time frame that works best for both of us. You know what I'm saying? So my recommendation is to make sure that you have your business on Yelp and Google and also have your hours 24/7. Okay. And then you can kind of negotiate what works best because they understand that you have a life. Okay. So that was another thing that I did. Marketing is a must and it's 24/7. That does mean you have to go and market yourself in a whole bunch of other places, whether that be on Wedding Wire for, being an officiant or, going on, some of these paid sites like Notary Cafe, which I've gotten work from Notary Cafe, to be able to advertise, go beyond your four walls and your friends and your family because that world is always going to be small, but make sure you market, put on your Facebook that you're a notary. If you have LinkedIn, put on notary, put that you're a notary. put that you're a loan signing agent, because all those things are going to set you apart. When people go and they hit that Google's and they search for that stuff, they're going to be able to see that you pop up. I'm number one in Leesburg. I don't know how to, I'm number one in Leesburg, but I'm number one in Leesburg as a top 10 mobile notary. And that's because when I get my alerts on Yelp, I answer immediately, whether they respond back or not. I answer immediately. What else? Definitely try to figure out a way to diversify your portfolio. Right now, general notary is steady, but the loan signing is slowed down because the market interest rates are going up. I've had quite a few loan modifications because of the time of the year. COVID is starting to, die down and people are going back to work. So those are still in abundance, but they don't pay as much because they have a low page count. And you really have to kind of figure out things that are going to work for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, at some point, if I can get some time, I am going to work out going to the hospitals and talk to the social service department to go and give my business cards and stuff like that to, let them know, because that's the way you can market, signing some of those medical documentations and things like that. You can stamp those because you're a notary. So that is something that I'm planning on doing. And, being active in these forums that are created by you. If you don't know something, ask. Keep a mentor relationship going on. Don't think because you've learned what you need to learn from them, you don't need them no more. You will always need them. Whether it's just for advice or to just vent about situations that you've had, or to just, create, future opportunities. It's always good to keep those lines of communication open. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Okay. I want to tell y'all, thank you so much for listening. It was so fun. I had a lot of people. Shout out to everybody, Black Curry, Sashi, Mayor Lehman, for blowing up the comment section. I'm not including the people that I didn't even see on Facebook. I don't even know because I didn't have my phone with me. But thank you guys so much. I've learned a lot. And ultimately, you just got to be flexible. Don't allow anybody else to tell you your value when it comes to what you bring to the table. What you bring to the table is you. And there ain't nobody else out there like you. Okay? And what you bring to the table matters. You just have to be able to put value in that and not make it complicated. You know how many people I see on a day-to-day basis that do this business and they have all these stipulations of what you can't do, what you shouldn't do, who if you're a customer, if I have to come back out there, that's another $45 fee. Don't make it complicated. I had this customer, and I'm gonna tell you guys this story real quick. I had a civil union paper that I had to sign. The guy explained it to me, agreed to the price, via text, and went out to go see him. Stamped all the documents, had the witness, all that other stuff that I need to have, and it was all good to go. I said to him before I left, if you have any issues with the documentation, please feel free to reach out to me. I will come back out at no charge. Okay. The very next day, he tells me, "Oh, we made a mistake," and I'm like, "What? Me? What? Mistake? What are you talking about? One of these other little scrubs?" No. What was? But that's in my head. That's ego talking. So I was like, okay, what was the mistake? He's like, "Oh, it looks like we got the wrong form." I'm supposed to know the form was wrong. I ain't never seen this form before. This is your form that I'm notarizing. I'm just notarizing your signature. And that the information that you say is in this document is true to the best of your knowledge and your ability. So, but anyway, I was just like, oh, okay, absolutely. I'll be back out there. When is a good time for you? He said, same time as yesterday. I was like, absolutely. I'll make sure I'm there. The job initially was a $35 job. It was a one-sheeter with a $25 travel fee. That was quick math with the mileage, and he agreed. So, all right, bet. I go back out there, And by the way, he tips. Um, he tips. No, actually, it was $30. I'm sorry. 10 for the notarizing for the document, and then 20 for the travel fee. And then he tipped me 5. And then the very next day, I went back out. I, get the documents, did all the stuff that I needed to do, and it turned out, finished. And he was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry that she had to come back out here." And he was like, "Oh, what's the charge?" I was like, "No charge." He goes, "Well, I got to at least I got to pay you something." I was like, "Well, pay for my gas." I didn't give him a dollar amount. He ended up tipping me another $25, 20 for the gas, and then another 5 for the tip. I could have easily been like, "Nah, son, I didn't get anything wrong. Ego could have ran through me, and I could have made that difficult. And now there's an additional $50 fee for me to come back out there." It was like, nah, it was the right thing to do, and it just happened to pay forward. Now, I done had people where I done did what I had to do, and they ain't tipped, and sometimes that's their right. That's, it's okay. There's nothing you can do about it. Just, gripe and move on. But there are times where you get more than what it's worth. And those are the times that you have to continue to celebrate when it gets slow, when it's slow like it is in loan signing companies. And remember that eventually we'll get back to that. Okay? So I'm going to go for real this time. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys know where to find me at Reggie's Expressions, REGGEE'' Expressions on Facebook and YouTube. And then you can find me at Reggie's Expressions, and that's REGGEES_Expressions on Instagram. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope this has been helpful for you. And if you guys want to keep the conversation going, you know where to find me on social media. You can find me there. And that's what I've learned so far. I'm only 5 months in, 6 months in, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to continue to learn more. And the more I learn, the more I'm willing to put out to you guys. So thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day. And for those of you who are in Central Florida who happen to be notaries now, I am having a notary meetup at 12 p.m. June 11th at Venture X Studios at 100 East Pine Road in Orlando. Okay? Parking is $2 per hour. We would love to see you there. There is no entry. And I'm very excited to be spearheading this on, with 3 beautiful Black women who know their shit. All right? You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. And until next time, it's been Reggie's Expressions. Peace.